चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवस्य श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं श्रीकृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणरघुनाथान् श्रीशाखान्वितं। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकानाथ राधाकान्त नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिने नमः। नमस्ते सारस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य विशिष्टानाय। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Welcome everyone again to today's Sunday Feast program. So today we're going to discuss on chapter number 9 from the Bhagavad Gita. So before we start the discussion, it is always important to understand the why, right? Why are we discussing the Bhagavad Gita, right? Why it is important, right? So very beautiful verse from the Gita Mahatmya. Maline mojanam pumsam jalasnanam dine dine sakrit geetamrita snanam samsara malanashanam. So one may cleanse himself daily by taking a bath in water. But if one takes a bath even once in the sacred Ganges water of the Bhagavad Gita, for him the dirt of material life is altogether vanquished. Right? So when we read Bhagavad Gita, when we read the Shastras, right, we strengthen the intelligence, right, from the Bhagavad Gita. We know that the intelligence is above the mind, right? Indriyani parani ahur indriye param mana manasastu parabuddhi yog buddhi paradastu saha. Right? So we strengthen the intelligence, right? Because not just in recent times, but from time immemorial, we are suffering more because of the mind than the body, right? Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita says, Manah shashthani indriyani prakriti sthani karshati. What is the meaning of karshati? Anyone? Attract, yes. What is the other meaning in this verse?
Karshati, bad. Saying bad words.
Yes, correct, yeah. Attract, yes. Attract, saying bad words, yes. So, Prakriti is attracting us, right? We are suffering because of identifying with matter, right? So, because we are identifying with matter, we are suffering since time immemorial, right? Prakriti sthani karshati. Kasht pa rahe hain, right? Which is why we need to read Shastras, we need to study scriptures, right? So scriptures basically strengthen the intelligence, right? And it helps us control the weak mind, right? It's all a mind game, right? So वो कहते हैं कि तन शुद्ध होता है स्नान से, राइट? मन शुद्ध होता है हरि के नाम से, और बुद्धि शुद्ध होती है दिव्य ज्ञान से, right? Which is why we are here studying the Bhagavad Gita, trying to understand what is Krishna's message in the Bhagavad Gita, right? So Srila Prabhupada, when he was traveling, one of the reporters asked Srila Prabhupada that, Srila Prabhupada, tell us something about your disciples. And Srila Prabhupada started describing that my disciples, when they came to Krishna consciousness, before they came to Krishna consciousness, they had unclean habits, they were shabbily dressed. They did not know anything about cleanliness. Okay? They say that cleanliness is next to godliness. So they had no definition of cleanliness, they were shabbily dressed, they were always smelling. But after they came to Krishna consciousness, after they started wearing dhoti, kurta, tilak, they shaved their heads, they started taking bath twice a day. It appeared as if they have descended straight from Vaikuntha, right? So they developed all clean habits. So devotee means clean externally and internally, right? So we are trying to clean ourselves internally, right? Which is why we are reading the Bhagavad Gita. Right? Srila Prabhupada is often accused of brainwashing his disciples. So Srila Prabhupada took it in a good way, in a positive way. And he said that yes, I'm trying to brainwash them. Because right now, their brain is filled with stool. Right? So they had a court case that Srila Prabhupada is trying to brainwash people. And that court case was dismissed, obviously. So Srila Prabhupada took it in a good way. We're trying to brainwash. Right? So we're all here sitting and trying to understand Krishna's message in the Bhagavad Gita because we're trying to wash our brains. Right? We're all under the shower, trying to get cleansed. Right? So this is the why, right? The why we're reading the Bhagavad Gita. So before we proceed, I would like to thank ISKCON of Bergen County Management, Ramchandra Prabhu, Ram Tulsi Prabhu for giving me this very, very important seva for my own purification on this very special day of Vijaya Ekadashi. I would like to thank all of the devotees here. Right? I would seek your blessings. Please pray for me as I speak. I feel a little nervous, but hopefully. So yes, to all the devotees here, to my Bhakti Viksha family, and to the devotees, you all are family to us. And last but not least, to my wife and my daughter Anaga, very, very big support in my life, in my spiritual life, in everything. So thank you. So yes, this is chapter number 9 of the Bhagavad Gita, right? And there are 4 sections in this chapter, and there's an acronym K-I-N-G, right? So first, Krishna is going to discuss the characteristics of this knowledge, right? The knowledge that he's going to impart to Arjuna. Then Krishna is going to speak about his inconceivable potency, his relationship with the jivas, his relationship with the material world, right? Then he's going to talk about non-worshippers, right? People who worship the demigods, people who worship the universal form of the Lord, people who don't worship him, right? And these people get stuck in the cycle of birth and death. And finally, he's going to speak about the glories of bhakti, the glories of devotional service, right? So these 4 sections, this chapter can be broadly classified into these 4 sections, K-I-N-G. Right? So the first verse of the Bhagavad Gita, chapter number 9, Shri Bhagavan Vacha Idam tu te guhyatamam Pravakshyami anusuyave Jnanam Vijnana Sahitam Yajñātvā mokṣasya shubhāt. The translation is, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, my dear Arjuna, because you are never envious of me, I shall impart to you this most confidential knowledge and realization, knowing which you shall be relieved of the miseries of material existence. Right? So because you are never envious of me. Right? A very, very important verse. So, Krishna is very, very intelligent, right? Krishna has these 6 opulences, right? He's the most intelligent, the most powerful, the most beautiful, the most famous, most knowledgeable, and most renounced, right? So this is a sign of Krishna's intelligence. He has hidden a password in the middle of the Bhagavad Gita, in the 9th chapter. What is the password? Does anyone know?
Bhakti.
Yes, Bhakti is the password, but what is the password to access that knowledge of Bhakti?
Surrender.
Anusyavi. Yes.
Non-envious.
Non-envious, yes. Right? So it's very, very important to understand this quality of non-enviousness, right? So we see in the outside world, for example in the office, right? If I share my glories with someone, right? If I try to brag about myself, the other person might feel envious. Right? If I share my weaknesses, the other person is going to try and exploit me. Right? So, material life means envy. Right? How to get ahead of someone. Right? That is material life. Right? But here, Krishna is saying, because Arjuna, you are not envious of me. I am feeling very, very comfortable sharing this knowledge with you. Right? Because Krishna knows that when Krishna is going to share this knowledge with Arjuna, Arjuna is not going to want to become Krishna. We see the example of the Sahajiyas, right? The Sahajiyas, they want to become Krishna. They try to imitate Krishna. So, when we see Krishna dancing with the gopis, we must identify ourselves with the gopis, not with Krishna, right? So Krishna is feeling very, very comfortable sharing this knowledge with Arjuna, right? He thinks that the more I reveal this knowledge to Arjuna, the more he is going to come close to me, right? The more it is going to take him upwards, not downwards, right? So this is a very, very important quality. And as I said, material life is based on envy. When I was growing up, there was this very famous ad of Onida. I'm not sure if you remember. Onida was a TV, right? So the tagline of that Onida ad was owner's pride, neighbor's envy, right? And then there was this very nice billboard that I saw a few years back. It said, drive with this car and enjoy the envy in your neighbor's eyes. Right? So it's very, very funny. Right? Social media, for example, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat. Right? These social media platforms, instead of bringing us closer together, they are dividing us. As soon as you log into these social media accounts, you start feeling envious of others. This comparison mentality, right? So material life is based on envy, but spiritual life is not based on envy. It is based on love, which is why Krishna is feeling very, very comfortable. Krishna is revealing this knowledge to Arjuna, and he says, Bhakto si mein sakha cheti, you're my very dearmost friend. And I'm feeling very comfortable revealing this knowledge to you. So, if we have this quality of love, if we are not envious, then this knowledge is going to really touch our heart and penetrate deeply. Otherwise, it is going to remain superficial. Right? And Krishna, he sees that when we love him, when we are devoted to him, he's ready to share all his opulences with us. He's ready to share his knowledge, his beauty, his strength, his renunciation, his fame, everything. In material life, do we find any boss who's ready to share his Mercedes, BMW, his bungalow, his wealth with us? No. But Krishna is very kind. He's ready to share all his opulences with us, provided we are not envious, right? Provided we are devoted to him, we love him, right? So envy means thinking, why only Krishna? Why only Krishna can have his pastimes? Why I cannot have my pastimes? So the reason why Krishna created this material world, right? There's this famous song, Duniya banane wale, kya tere man mein samai? Kahe ko tune दुनिया बनाई, right? So भगवान ने दुनिया इसलिए बनाई because हम भगवान से द्वेष कर बैठे, right? We became envious of Krishna, right? So this is the reason. So you're thinking, why only Krishna can have his pastimes? Why I cannot have my pastimes? So the fact of the matter is, Krishna can have his pastimes, and we can have time pass, right? If Krishna is not in the center, obviously. But as devotees, when we come together, we understand this fact that yes, I must become devoted to Krishna. I must keep Krishna in the center. Right? Just last week we celebrated the Valentine's Day. Right? So Radha Maharaj, he sees a very, very beautiful thing, that between the couple there should be the divine couple. Right? So envy basically means giving up the Duryodhana mentality. Duryodhana. Krishna time and again negotiated with him. Duryodhana, मान जाओ. At least give them 5 villages. Give 5 villages to the Pandavas. He said, I cannot even give them as much space as can be occupied by the pinprick of a needle. This was envy. Everything belongs to me, nothing belongs to the Lord. On the other hand, we see the case of Bharat, Lord Ram's brother. What was his mentality? Everything belongs to the Lord, nothing belongs to me. Right? When Lord Ram was in exile, he put the padukas of Lord Ram on the throne. And every day, he used to share his small and big achievements with the padukas. He used to sleep on the floor. He had a very, very simple diet. All the time he was thinking of his brother, Lord Ram. He was crying in separation. Right? So this is Bharat mentality. So giving up envy means moving from Duryodhana mentality to Bharat mentality, right? So what is the cure for envy? So Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, he says, Adveshta sarva bhutanam maitra karuna evacha, right? Nirmamo nir ahankara samadukha sukha kshami, right? So he says that if someone is envious, then he will not be favored by me, right? Which is why we must try to give up this quality gradually, right? We are all under the shower, as I mentioned, trying to get cleansed, right? So it is not a on-off switch, 0 या 1. हम कहीं बीच में हैं, तो हमें ट्राई करना है धीरे धीरे, तभी ये नॉलेज हम सही में ग्रास्प कर पाएंगे, right? So we see that Krishna is sharing his opulences with us, right? Someone is beautiful, someone is wealthy, someone is strong, right? Someone is renounced, someone has knowledge, right? So किसी की अच्छी शक्ल है तो वो दिल का अच्छा रहा होगा, कोई धनी है तो उसने दान दिया होगा, किसी की अच्छी आवाज है तो उसने भगवान का भजन किया होगा, भक्ति की होगी, right? So every cause has an effect, right? So why should we become envious of anyone, right? Every cause has an effect. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction, right? So Srila Prabhupada often he used to say to his disciples were mostly Westerners because they obviously came to the West, and they all had good looks, they were intelligent. So Srila Prabhupada always used to say that by your past karmas you have been blessed with good looks, with good intelligence, with good wealth. You must use these. You must use these to advance spiritually, right? So it's a very, very important instruction, right? And if we are envious of someone, we are indirectly envying Krishna. Why? Yes. Yes.
Because
Yeah, Mataji shared part and parcel, yes.
Because Krishna says, Surhadam Sarvabhutana.
Yes.
He is the well-wishing friend of everyone.
Exactly.
How can you be envious to anyone?
Yes. Prabhuji. So as Prabhuji said, Suhridam Sarva Bhutanam. Krishna is the well-wishing friend of everyone. And Krishna also says, Yadyat Vibhuti Mat Sattvam Shrimat Urjitam Evava Tat Tat
Tattad eva gachatvam.
Mama Tejo Amsha Sambhava. Yes. So whatever opulence you are seeing in someone is a spark of my splendor. Right? Krishna has given us opulences, right? And we have earned it by our karmas, by our actions, right? And we also understand that everything in the material world is temporary, right? As we sow, so shall we reap, right? And when we focus on ourselves, right? When we work on ourselves, right? We will gradually be able to address this feeling of envy, right? So there is one more very important keyword in this verse. Idam tute guhyatamam pravakshami anusuyave jnanam vijnana sahitam yad jnatva mokshasya shubha. So this knowledge is jnanam and it is vijnana sahitam. This knowledge is theory and it is also practical, right? It is vijnana sahitam, right? So there is Shravan, right? We are here in the association of devotees trying to understand this knowledge. We hear, but after Shravan there is Manan and there is Nididhyasan. Manan means contemplating, yes, taking some notes of what I heard. Because if I take some notes, I can understand what I can apply in my life, right? So this knowledge is Vijnana Sahitam. We should be able to apply this knowledge. And we can apply this knowledge, right? Before Srila Prabhupada translated the Bhagavad Gita and wrote his commentary, there were more than 70 different translations. There were more than 70 editions of the Bhagavad Gita, but there were no devotees. Right? So Prabhupada made this knowledge Vijnana Sahitam. He made it very, very practical for us. So we read about surrender and then we understand how to surrender. What is the meaning of surrender? Anukulasya sankalpa, pratikulasya varjanam. Taking up activities that are favorable for our bhakti, giving up activities that are not favorable for our bhakti. right? So this knowledge can be made practical, right? Even in our regular exams in colleges and schools, right? We have to appear for a theory exam, but we also have to pass our practicals, right? So if we don't make this knowledge practical, it is not going to impact our lives deeply, right? So moving on to the second verse. Rajavidya Rajaguhyam Pavitram idamuttamam Pratyakshagamam dharmyam Susukham kartum avyayam. So Krishna is describing the characteristics of this knowledge. This knowledge is the king of education, the most secret of all secrets. It is the purest knowledge. And because it gives direct perception of the self by realization, it is the perfection of religion. It is everlasting. It is joyfully performed. Right? So this is Rajavidya. Right? This is the knowledge that kings possessed. Raja. Raja means king. So back in the times, this is the knowledge that they possessed and they practiced. Right? Because obviously the kings had to rule over the citizens. But it is also called the king of knowledge because it helps rule the king in our body. And who's the king in our body? The mind, yes. The mind. The mind. Right? The mind and the senses, they are the king. Right? So, this knowledge helps control the mind. It is Rajaguhyam. It is the most secretive. Right? This knowledge is most secretive. It's an open secret actually. But it's an open secret. Still people are not interested. How many people in the outside world know that we are not this body? We are spirit soul. Right? Srila Prabhupada, when he visited the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, right, he was talking with the students and he said to the students that you have these different departments. You have the department for science, for technology, for engineering, for management. You have these different departments. I'm here in MIT. Where is the department for the Almighty? Where is the department for the Almighty? The soul is the most important part of the body. Right? He writes very beautifully in this book called Rajavidya. It's a very, very small book. He says that man may say that I don't believe in God. Man may say that I don't believe in God. But where is he getting that speaking power from? Because when the speaking power is gone, the body is no better than a stone. So where is the speaking power coming from? So if someone says that I don't believe in God, he must understand that there is a higher power. He can call it God or nature or whatever. But there is a higher power, right? Which is why this knowledge is Rajaguhyam. This is very, very confidential. It is Pavitram. It purifies us. It cleanses us from the inside. तन शुद्ध होता है स्नान से, मन शुद्ध होता है हरि के नाम से, और बुद्धि शुद्ध होती है दिव्य ज्ञान से. They purify the intelligence because only with a purified intelligence can we control the mind. Otherwise, the mind can overpower the intelligence. Right? This is Pavitram. This is Susukham. This is very joyfully performed. When Srila Prabhupada was asked, what is Krishna consciousness, Swamiji? One reporter was asking. So Srila Prabhupada said, Krishna consciousness means we simply sing and we dance. And when we are tired, we eat some prasad. That's it. That is Krishna consciousness. So simple and so joyful. Right? This is Krishna consciousness. How many of us here don't like to sing or dance? Yes, see one hand. Okay. Maybe he wants to play. Outside. Right? So we all enjoy. Right? So this process is very simple. Very joyfully performed. Right? And this process gives us a higher taste. Right? We all were able to give up our bad habits thanks to the higher taste that this process gives us. Smoking, we all know, right? Smoking causes cancer. Kirtan causes dancer, right? Smoking causes cancer. Kirtan causes dancer, right? So this process is very, very joyful. Susukham, right? And dharmyam. This is religion, right? People today, religion has a negative connotation. People don't want to call themselves religious. They would rather call themselves spiritual. And there is an acronym for this. SBNR. Does anyone know what this SBNR is?
Spiritual but not religious.
Spiritual but not religious. Right? Why? Religion has a negative connotation because people think religion means rules, regulations, organization. But religion means something that can answer these 4 questions. Who am I? Who is God? What is my relationship with God? And why am I suffering in this world? And Bhagavad Gita can answer these 4 questions with a lot of depth, which is why this is religion. When Sri Sanatana Goswami, he met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He told Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that Mahaprabhu, everyone calls me a scholar. I know so many languages. I know Bengali, I know Persian, I know Sanskrit. But dear Mahaprabhu, I think I am fool number 1. Because I don't know who I am. I don't know who I am. Ke ami, kene amai ja tapatre. He said to Mahaprabhu, I don't know who I am and why I am suffering in this material world. Right? So this is religion, because Bhagavad Gita can answer with sufficient depth these 4 questions. So next verse is Ashraddhadhana Purusha Dharmasyasya Parantapa Aprapya Mam Nivartante Mrityu Samsara Vartmani. Right? So Krishna is saying, those who are not faithful in this devotional service cannot attain me, O conqueror of enemies. Therefore, they return to the path of birth and death in the material world. Right? So if this knowledge is so wonderful, so joyfully performed, a question can arise in Arjuna's mind that why people don't take to devotional service. So Krishna's answer is because they don't have enough faith in this process. Ashraddhadhana Purusha. Right? And Krishna uses a very beautiful word. So Krishna is very intelligent. He uses parantapa here. In every verse, Krishna uses a word for Arjuna. And that word has very deep meaning with the words that he is speaking. Right? So here he is saying, Ashraddhadhana Purusha Dharmasyasya Parantapa. Right? Parantapa. Parantapa. Why is he using the word Parantapa here? What is the meaning of Parantapa?
Destroyer of enemy.
Yes. Thank you, Prabhuji. Destroyer of enemies. Right? So Krishna Arjuna से कहते हैं, हे परंतप, जिस तरह से तुम अपने शत्रुओं को तपाते हो, उसी तरह से जो मेरी शरण में नहीं आते, उन्हें मृत्यु का ताप सहना पड़ता है. इसलिए भगवान यहाँ परंतप शब्द का यूज कर रहे हैं. Right? So what is faith? Faith is something that helps us see the invisible. Right? So a devotee, he does not ask, show me God, where is God? But a devotee wants to work in such a way that God will want to see him. Right? खुद ही को कर बुलंद इतना कि हर तकदीर से पहले खुदा बंदे से खुद पूछे बता तेरी रजा क्या है. Right? So it's like chasing a butterfly. Right? It's very, very difficult to chase a butterfly. Right? It's almost impossible. If you try to chase a butterfly, you will become frustrated. But if you build a garden, a nice garden with nice smelling flowers, you will automatically attract butterflies. Right? So the same concept goes with this. Right? Srila Prabhupada used to say that yes, of course, everyone is busy trying to see God. A devotee is not busy trying to see God, but he wants to work in such a way that God will want to see him. Right? So a devotee does not say, show me God. How can I see God? A devotee will say, how can I serve God? Right? Once, Srila Prabhupada's spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was asked, "Can you show me God?" And he said, "Yes, I can show you God, provided you can lend me your ears." I can show you God, provided you can lend me your ears. So भगवान पहले कानों से दिखते हैं, आंखों से बाद में. We are here trying to hear in the association of devotees. Right? It all begins with the hearing. Tat shruno, right? Therefore, you must hear. Right? And this faith that Krishna is talking about is not blind faith. Shri Shri Radha Shyam Sundar ki jai. Shri Shri Mahanta ki jai. So this faith that Krishna is talking about is not blind faith. This faith is sensible and verifiable. Just like when we go to the doctor, we put faith in the doctor, we put faith in his treatment, we put faith in the medicine. Why? Because the treatment is sensible and verifiable. We put money in the bank. Why? Because we have faith in the bank. Our money is going to stay safe, sensible and verifiable. We take a flight. Why? Because we have faith in the airline company. Sensible and verifiable. Right? Every step that we take is a step of faith. Krishna's words in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter number 2. Jatasya vi dhruva mrityu dhruvam janma mritasya cha. For one who has taken birth, he is sure to die. Sensible and verifiable. Chapter number 3. Avritam jnanam etena jnanino nitya vairina kama rupena kaunteya dushpurena nalina cha. Lust covers our intelligence. We lose the discrimination. We lose the discrimination power of what is right versus what is wrong. And lust is like a forest fire. It's like an itch. Sensible and verifiable. Chapter number 6. Chanchalam hi manah Krishna pramati balavadridam. The mind is very, very restless, very hard to control. Sensible and verifiable. Chapter number 6. Yukta ahara viharasya yukta cheshta sakarmasu. Right? One must become regulated in his habits of eating, sleeping, work, recreation. We talk of work-life balance these days, right? Sensible and verifiable. Everything that Krishna is saying in the Bhagavad Gita is sensible and verifiable. This is not blind faith. Janma mrityu jara vyadhi dukkha dosham darshanam. How many of us here want to get diseased? Want to get old? None of us, right? This is dukkhalayam ashashvatam. Sensible and verifiable, right? So the point here is that the more we become evolved in our consciousness, the more faith we will get. Right? Right now, somewhere here in this room, there is a spider on the wall. So for the spider, you or me don't exist. The prasadam in the back, it doesn't exist. I'm speaking about the Bhagavad Gita. For the spider, that does not exist. For the spider, only what it can touch is what exists. Right? So there are people who can see in 3 dimensions. There are some people who can see in 4 dimensions, 5 dimensions. Right? So the point is, the more we evolve in our spiritual journey, the more we evolve in our spiritual consciousness, the more we can see, the more we can perceive. Right? It's not about coming on day 1 and asking Krishna, where are you? Show me. कहाँ हो? कहाँ है भगवान? कोई Facebook profile है? Instagram account? We cannot do that. Right? So the first step in spiritual life is Shraddha, is preliminary faith. We have some faith, some level of faith. We come in the association of devotees and we try to fan that faith. So spiritual life is very, very scientific. It starts with Shraddha and then Sadhu Sangha. Then Bhajana Kriya. We engage in some spiritual practices. We start chanting the names of the Lord. And then there is Anartha Nivritti. And then there is Nishtha, firm faith. Right? So we cannot climb on the 3rd ladder without climbing on the 2nd ladder. Right? So we have to remember these ladders in spiritual life. Preliminary faith is just the first step. And the association of devotees is very, very important, right? It's like a hand pump. Many of us have seen a hand pump in villages, right? Sometimes we push the hand pump and the water is not coming out, right? There's a small hole on the top of the hand pump, right? As soon as you start pouring a few drops of water in this small hole from the top, what does it do? So कभी-कभी hand pump में बीच में हवा जम जाती है. There is air in between. As soon as you start pouring some drops of water on the top, it completes this capillary action, and immediately water starts coming out. Right? So the association of devotees is like that small hole on the top of the hand pump. You pour a little bit of water, and immediately completes that capillary action. So this Krishna Prem is there in the heart. It just has to come out. So Srila Prabhupada used to say that Krishna consciousness is not an artificial imposition on the mind. It is already there. It is inherent within all of us. It just has to come out. And it comes out in the association of the devotees. Right? So we'll move on to the next section. So the first section talked about the characteristics of this knowledge. The second section is I for inconceivable. Krishna's relationship with the material world. Sarvabhutani kaunteya prakritim yanti mamikam kalpakshaye punastani kalpadau vishrajamyaham. So Krishna is giving knowledge about himself, about his own greatness. Why? Because Krishna wants us to become attracted to him. Right? When Krishna starts sharing his greatness with us, he wants us to become attracted to him. This is Krishna's Aishwarya Dhyan. Aishwarya means opulence. In this world, we become attracted to someone's beauty, someone's strength, someone's knowledge, someone's fame, someone's opulence, someone's renunciation, right? But Krishna is Bhagavan. यहाँ पे कृष्ण बता रहे हैं, at the end of the millennium, all material manifestation enters into my nature. And at the beginning of another millennium, by my potency, I create it again. So as Mahavishnu, Krishna is breathing out unlimited universes. As Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, he is entering into every universe. As Kshirodakshaya Vishnu, or as Paramatma, he is entering every living entity. This is inconceivable. Our tiny brains cannot think of this. And we really have very limited intelligence, very tiny brains. We all know we have this right brain and left brain, right? But the funny thing is, on the right, nothing is left. On the left, nothing is right. Right? So we have very, very limited intelligence. We cannot grasp of Krishna's inconceivable potency. Krishna is saying, Pashyame Yoga Aishwaryam, behold my mystic opulence. Krishna breathing out unlimited universes. So there was this scientist who was asking Srila Prabhupada, how is this possible? This is driving me nuts, Srila Prabhupada said. Why? ये काम तो मकड़ी भी करती है. Even a small spider is doing this. मकड़ी जाला बुनती है, जाले में रहती है, और कुछ समय बाद जाले को अपने अंदर ले लेती है. ये काम तो मकड़ी भी करती है. Even a small spider is doing it. फर्क सिर्फ इतना है, मकड़ी इसको छोटे स्केल पे कर रही है, भगवान बड़े स्केल पे कर रहे हैं. So we see this is Krishna's inconceivable potency. Krishna is Bhagavan. We all know who is God. Who is God? Krishna. But what is God? What is the definition of God? What is the definition of Bhagavan? Bhagavan means Bhaga. Bhaga का मतलब क्या है? Opulences. And Van means yes, owner. Yes. One who owns these 6 opulences: strength, knowledge, fame, renunciation, beauty, and one more. Renunciation. Right? So this is the definition of Bhagavan. Bhagavan means who is the owner, one who is the owner of these 6 opulences. Right? So what is inconceivable is not irrational. There's a difference. Sometimes people say that this is irrational. This is not irrational. This is inconceivable. Right? Because we have finite good karma. We have finite good karma. Right? As humans, we have limited intelligence. We cannot say that we are the most intelligent beings in this universe. Right? हमारे ऊपर भी और लोकास हैं. Right? We are on भूलोक. भूलोक के ऊपर भुवरलोक, स्वर्गलोक, जनलोक, महरलोक, तपलोक. Right? So there are more elevated beings. Depending on how we act, depending on our karmas, on our actions, we are given higher facility. जैसे इंडिया में there is IAS officers, IPS officers. The government gives them nice bungalow, नौकर चाकर, गाड़ी, सब कुछ दिया जाता है उनके पास. They have more facility. They can even roam around when there is a curfew. Why? Because they are serving the Lord. Right? So the more we serve the Lord, the more facility we will get. Right? So once Srila Prabhupada was traveling on a plane and he was very serious. So when the air hostess came to him, she asked, Swamiji, why are you so serious? Srila Prabhupada said, because Krishna is so great. Because Krishna is so great. Krishna is effortlessly making huge spaceships float in the space. And we become proud by floating tiny spaceships in space. And look at Krishna's mystic opulence. Inconceivable, not irrational. Right? Again, Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, in the 10th verse of this section of inconceivable, he says, Maya adhyakshena prakriti Suyate sacharacharam Hetuna anena kaunteya Jagat viparivartate. Krishna is saying this material nature, which is one of my energies, is working under my direction, O son of Kunti, and is producing all moving and non-moving beings. Under its rule, this manifestation is created and annihilated again and again. So, Krishna is giving us this very important piece of information that this nature, this material world, is not acting on its own. Can matter act on its own? No. Can a car get switched on its own? No. You need a pair of keys. You need an app. You need something to switch it on, right? You need a person. And a person means spirit. Spiritual spark, right? It's like a child. The child sees the traffic lights changing from green to yellow, from yellow to red. And the child says to the mother, Mama, looks like these traffic lights are changing automatically. And what does the mother think? The mother thinks that yes, this child is naive. His intelligence is not developed yet. So the mother explains that, Beta, my dear son, behind these traffic lights, there is a programmer who has programmed these lights, which is why they appear that they are behaving automatically. They are changing automatically. Behind the painting, there is a painter. Behind the creation, there is a creator. Behind the program, there has to be a programmer. This is what Krishna is trying to say in this verse. The child will turn on the switch and he will say to his mother, Mama, looks like the electricity is automatic. So the mother will again explain, no, beta, behind this electricity there is a power plant, and inside that power plant there is an engineer. There is an engineer who is carefully supervising the operations, making sure the equipment is in order. So this is spirit. Matter requires spirit. Maya adhyakshena means under my supervision. मेरी अध्यक्षता में प्रकृति कार्य करती है. Under my supervision, this material nature is acting. Right? How to see the hand of God in nature? So we may not be able to see the face of God. We may not be able to see the face of God, but we can see the hand of God. Krishna gives this information in the 15th chapter, how he is assisting us at the cosmological level, at the terrestrial level, at the physiological level, at the spiritual level. At the cosmological level, by giving us the light from the sun. This one sun is giving light, electricity to this entire universe. At the terrestrial level, Krishna is keeping all the planets in orbit. Why don't the planets fall off? Why is the law of gravity not applicable to the planets? This is something to think, is it not? At the physiological level, by helping us digest our food, aham vaishvanaro bhutva praninam deham ashita pranapana samayukta pachami annam chaturvidham. I help digest your food, but the only time we think of our digestion is when it is not working. Right? But when it is working, we must think of the Lord and we must thank the Lord. Yes, science says there is a process called peristalsis, which is pushing the food down to the alimentary canal. But why is it working? Why is this process working? Who is making it work? These different enzymes getting secreted, different organs working with so much precision, so much order, so much harmony. If we see in this universe, there is order, there is harmony, there is precision. This points to an intelligent being, an intelligent person. So always remember, we may not be able to see the face of God with these senses, with these material senses, with this material vision, but we can see the hand of God. This is Krishna's message here. So then Krishna talks about the different gradations of people who accept this process and who don't accept this process. So we move to the third section, which is non-worshippers. So K for knowledge, I for inconceivable, N for non-worshippers. Yes. So the mudhas were foolish people. Foolish means their intelligence is not yet developed. Like the child thinks that the traffic lights are changing automatically. I'll maybe take 10 more minutes. Right? The mudhas, they don't surrender. Right? They don't understand that there is something called as soul. When the soul enters the body, it is called birth. When the soul leaves the body, it is called death. As Srila Prabhupada mentioned, that man may say that he does not believe in God, but where is that speaking power coming from? Because when that speaking power is gone, the body is no better than a stone. Right? Something to think about. Right? So these are mudhas, unintelligent people. They don't surrender. So there was this person who was challenging Srila Prabhupada, that Swamiji, you keep saying about surrender. That one must surrender to Krishna, one must surrender to God. I don't surrender to anyone. Srila Prabhupada said, you do. You do surrender. You surrender to birth, old age, disease, and death. At the end, you surrender to Krishna because Krishna is all-powerful time. As time, Krishna will take away everything. Mrityu sarva haraschaham. As death personified, God or Krishna will take away everything. Kalosmi, I am time. So you do surrender. And that person accepted yes. Right? So these are the mudhas. Not so much developed in their intelligence. Before we came to Krishna consciousness, before I came to Krishna consciousness, I was a mudha. Right? So it is by Srila Prabhupada's mercy, by the mercy of the devotees, right, that I understand these spiritual topics. Right? So we're not trying to judge anyone here. Right? But this gradation is there. Krishna is giving us this information. And then Krishna speaks about the Mahatmas. How the Mahatma surrenders. And Srila Prabhupada gives a very, very nice example. Srila Prabhupada is walking on the beach, doing one of his morning walks. And he's walking with Brahmananda Swami, right, who's very, very tall and well-built, like a wrestler. And he sees this crab walking. So he asks Brahmananda to go and catch the crab. Brahmananda is putting all his energy, all his effort, and he's not able to catch the crab. And the crab immediately goes inside the ocean. So Srila Prabhupada starts laughing. And he says to Brahmananda, that Brahmananda, this crab may be very, very insignificant. And you may be like a huge wrestler. But see whose shelter it has taken. The crab has taken the shelter of the ocean. So this is the quality of a Mahatma. Mahatmanastu mam partha dairim prakritim ashrita. The Mahatma is one who has taken shelter of the divine nature. So Srila Prabhupada often used to say that if we hold on to Krishna's lotus feet, we will never fall down. Taking shelter of Krishna's lotus feet means taking shelter of devotee association. Taking shelter of Srila Prabhupada's books. Taking shelter of the chanting process. This is the quality of a Mahatma. So on one hand there is a Mudha, on the other hand there is a Mahatma. Right? And what does a Mahatma do? What does a Mahatma do? 9.14 Satatam kirtayanto mam yadantascha digaprata namasyantascha mam bhaktya nitya yukta upasate. Satatam kirtayanto mam. कई बार लोग पूछते हैं कि अच्छा कहाँ लिखा है भगवद गीता में हमें 16 माला का जाप करना चाहिए? इस वर्ष में लिखा है सततम कीर्तयन्तु माम. सततम का मतलब क्या होता है? सतत रूप से जो मेरी भक्ति करता है, जो सतत रूप से मेरा नाम लेता है. सतत means always, constant. Yes. But Srila Prabhupada made it easy for us. 16 rounds. Seems difficult, yes, because we have so many responsibilities. But this is the quality of a Mahatma. Whether or not he feels the taste, whether or not he is in the mood, he will always chant. Srila Prabhupada was one of the most recorded persons in the history of the world. Every morning walk, every interview, every lecture, he was only glorifying Krishna. He was trying to help people alleviate their suffering. This is Satatam Kirtayanto Mam. Once Srila Prabhupada was asked, Swamiji, why are you building so many temples? Vrindavan already has 5,000 temples. Why so many temples? Srila Prabhupada asked a gentleman, do you have children? He said, yes. How many? 2. Srila Prabhupada said, there's already so many children. Why do you have 2 children? Srila Prabhupada said, these temples are like my children. These temples are not ordinary temples. These are universities. They are like hospitals for the diseased soul. People are suffering for want of Krishna consciousness. These temples are like my children. Right? Which is why today we are here sitting and hearing the Bhagavad Gita. This is the characteristic. This is one of the unique characteristics of ISKCON. Books are the basis. Right? We try to not just read but study Srila Prabhupada's books. We try to read and study the Bhagavad Gita. So Srila Prabhupada was once asked that Swamiji, why do you keep traveling? Why do you keep traveling so much across these different countries? Srila Prabhupada, when he was in the West, during his preaching mission, he circumambulated the globe 14 times. So he was asked, why do you keep traveling? Srila Prabhupada said, so I can stop you from traveling across these 8.4 million species. So this was Srila Prabhupada's compassion. This is why he is a Mahatma. Right? So there is Mudha, there is Mahatma, and there is someone who is in between, the demigod worshippers. They are somewhere in between. So they are like that, that children who go to their parents, that Mama, I need this, I need that. Right? So demigod worshippers are people who approach God for the fulfillment of their material desires. Nothing wrong with that. They do recognize the supremacy of the Lord. But they have material desires in the heart. Right? It's like a child. Right? He's not very elevated in his thinking yet. So Krishna says, they will be stuck in the cycle of repeated birth and death. He gives us some information about the Svargaloka planets, right? So there is this set of people who worship these different celestial gods like Indra, like Chandra, like Varuna, right? So Krishna in this verse he says, Traividyamam somapah puta papa yagne ishtva swargatim prarthayante. They want to go to the heavenly planets. Right? But the point here is that residence in the heavenly planets is nothing compared to eternity. And Krishna wants us with him. Right? So when we see in this world, we see that different life conditions exist, right? From abject poverty to extreme luxury, right? कहीं पे बहुत गरीबी है और कहीं पे बहुत opulence है. So there are different life conditions existing even on this planet. So why such a similar disparity should not exist in the universe, right? But the point to note is that higher authorities restrict access to the heavenly planets. In this picture you can see the US-Mexico border, right? So there is higher authorities who are restricting access to the heavenly planets. Right? Today's atheistic scientists, they want to enter the moon. Right? But Srila Prabhupada says that you must have sufficient qualification, you must have the adhikar. For example, Narad Muni, he had free access to the universe. Why? Because he was always on a preaching mission. He was serving the Lord, just like the Sarkar ka Gadi. If you are an IAS officer or an IPS officer, you will be blessed with these facilities. You can roam around anywhere and everywhere, right? So you must have sufficient qualification. You must perform a lot of piety. So Krishna mentions that there are people who perform a lot of piety. Why? Because they want to go and enjoy in the heavens. But the problem with that is that once that piety is finished, once the pious credits are exhausted, one falls down again. Tetam bhuktva swarga lokam vishalam kshine punne martya lokam vishanti. Tetam bhuktva swarga lokam vishalam. After enjoying vast heavenly sense pleasures, they fall down again to this material world. Right? So Krishna is giving us a word of caution here. In the final section, right? K-I-N-G. Does anybody remember what is G? Glories. Glories of what? Of devotional service, yes. So this process is very, very simple. Patram pushpam phalam toyam yoge bhaktya prayachati tadaham bhakti upahritam ashnami prayatatmanaha. If one offers me with love and devotion a leaf, a flower, a fruit or water, I will accept it. So sometimes people think how this process can be so simple and yet the best. Which is why Krishna says it confuses people. Which is why Krishna says that people don't have faith. But this is really it. It's very, very simple, very, very joyfully performed. And it gives lasting result. Right? So patram का मतलब क्या है? Leaf. And patram also means folded hands, because when you fold your hands, the shape is like that of a leaf. Right? So I saw a very nice quote on one of the churches in Parsippany. I was driving with my family, and it said that God answers knee mail. Knee mail. Very, very beautiful quote. Is it not? So yes, knee mail, not email. Right? So yeah. So this is patram, folded hands, leaf. So we can be grateful for so many things. Krishna, thank you for everything that you have done in my life. Thank you for this devotee association. So many things to thank the Lord for. Right? This is patram. Right? So it's a scene from one of the movies. before I was born. Some Amitabh Bachchan fans here, so you might be able to relate. Right? So Amitabh Bachchan is asking, who's the hero on the other side? Shashi Kapoor, yes. So he's asking Shashi Kapoor, आज मेरे पास गाड़ी है, बंगला है, बैंक बैलेंस है, तुम्हारे पास क्या है? हाँ. And Shashi Kapoor says, मेरे पास MBA है. MBA, most beautiful association of devotees. Yes. So we can be grateful for devotee association. Today, whatever I have learned, whatever power I have of speaking is because of devotee association, is because of Srila Prabhupada's mercy. So we can always remember this. Every time we go in front of the Lord, we can thank Him with folded hands. This is Patram. Very, very nice quote I read from His Grace Chaitanya Charan Prabhu, that we become dissatisfied not because of what we don't have. We become dissatisfied not because of what we don't have, but because we don't see what we have. We don't see what we have. Right? So we have always be grateful. Otherwise, we are grateful. Right? Pushpam. Pushpam means flower. So we all know the story of Gajendra as King Indradyumna. He used to offer very elaborate sacrifices, rituals, Vedic mantras, and he was very rich. He was a very rich king, very opulent, and he used to offer 1,000-petal golden lotus flower to the Lord every single day. Because of some offense, because of some mistake, he fell down and became Gajendra. And as Gajendra, you all know that there was this crocodile who was biting him, and Gajendra, in spite of all his strength, could not free himself up. In this very desperate situation, he wanted to offer a flower to the Lord, because the Lord gave him the remembrance that as King Indradyumna, you used to offer this 1,000-petal golden lotus flower to me. So out of nowhere, the Lord arranges a flower for him, and Gajendra looks to his right and he sees this lotus flower. He picks it up and he offers it to the Lord. He offers it to the Lord. And for Gajendra, this flower was not just a flower. He said to the Lord, my dear Lord, this is not just a flower that I am offering. This is my heart that I am offering to you. So Pushpam means heart. So when we go in front of Krishna, we can offer our heart. Right? Fruits. Phalam. Right? We all know this story of the fruit seller. This fruit seller lady, she was hell-bent upon seeing Krishna. हमने गांव में देखा है, सब्जी वाली आती है और she is calling out, केले ले लो, संतरे ले लो, आम ले लो, right? So she desperately wants to take Krishna's darshan. और नंदग्राम के राउंड लगा रही है. Day 1, she cannot see Krishna anywhere. She is right outside Nanda Bhavan. Day 2, she cannot see Krishna. Day 3, she says to herself, if today Krishna does not give me darshan, I will give up my life. और डे नंबर 3 पे जैसे ही आवाज लगाना शुरू करती है, केले ले लो, संतरे ले लो, आम ले लो, कृष्णा भागे चले आते हैं. Krishna comes running out from the door. He picks up a few grains of rice in his hands, and by the time he comes outside, and when he shows his palms to the fruit seller, he says, देखो मैं कुछ लेके आया हूँ, मुझे फल दो, give me fruits. As soon as he opens his palms, there is nothing. We know that small children, they are so clumsy. Such small fingers they have. And the fruit seller woman says, अरे ये क्या, कुछ भी नहीं है अंदर. चलो कोई बात नहीं, एक शर्त पे मैं तुम्हें सारे फल दे दूंगी, मुझे एक बार माँ बुलाओ. Call me मैया once. So Krishna thinks, Mother Yashoda ने कहा था, don't talk to strangers. Looks on the left, looks on the right, and then he jumps into the lap of the fruit seller woman, and calls her Maiya, Maiya. एक बार नहीं, 2 बार बुलाते हैं मैया मैया. And this Maiya is on cloud 9. She cannot believe it. She fills up Krishna's hand with all the fruits, and her eyes are riveted to the door from where Krishna came running. She did not have anything. She did not expect anything in return. And when she finally picks up her basket to leave, she sees that her basket is full of jewels, rubies, diamonds. We have Vaman Seva over here. Sorry. So, the basket is full of rubies, jewels, ornaments. And she says to herself that I did not ask anything in return, but Krishna filled my basket with jewels and diamonds. And she thinks that compared to the 2 minutes of time that Krishna gave me, what are these jewels? They are just pieces of stone. She picks up the basket and she empties it in river Yamuna. And after that day, they say, no one saw that woman, that fruit seller lady, ever again in Mathura or Vrindavan. So this is the power of offering fruits. No expectation. And Toyam. So this will be the last one. Toyam. Toyam means water. We try to offer Krishna some water. Why? Because we try to remind ourselves that Krishna is a person. Lotus feet. Krishna has feet. Means he is a person. He is the supreme personality of Godhead. But at a deeper level, we offer our tears. Because the water of the tears is not regular water. It is very, very precious water. It's very, very precious because it is coming from some very deep emotion in the heart. Tears of joy or tears of sorrow. This is what Krishna is looking for. When Draupadi was in the Asat Sabha, she was looking at her husbands. But the husbands were not able to do anything. They had become slaves. She was looking at the elders. Drona, Kripa, Bhishma, Vidura, Dhritarashtra. कोई कुछ नहीं कर पा रहा था. And then Draupadi thought, I will have to use my own strength. She started pulling the sari, but Dushasan had the strength of how many elephants?
10,000.
10,000 elephants, yes. So Draupadi was no match for her. She thought, let me raise one of my hands up in the air. Maybe Krishna will hear. Krishna was busy fighting a war with Shalva. Krishna was still busy. She thought maybe I should raise both my hands. She raised both her hands in the air and she held on to the sari with her teeth. Still Krishna was busy. Krishna was demanding full surrender. Finally Draupadi gave up. Agre Kuruna Atha Pandavana Dushasanena Ritavastrakesha Krishna Tavatrosha Ananyanatha Govinda Damodara Madhaveti. Hey Govinda, hey Damodara, hey Madhava. Finally Krishna heard. Krishna is waiting for us to fully surrender. वो कहते हैं तू तेरे काम में तो मैं मेरे धाम में और तू मेरे नाम में तो मैं तेरे काम में. If we are lax in our dealing with Krishna, then Krishna is lax in his dealing with us. If we are intense in our dealing with Krishna, then Krishna becomes intense in his dealing with us. Finally Krishna heard. When Krishna entered the Guru assembly and supplied the unlimited sari to Draupadi, it was as if the entire Loi Bazaar of Vrindavan was there. Utni sari kam pad gayi. So this is Toyam, tears. अगर रोना है तो भगवान के लिए रोना है, right? And this is the best life insurance policy. अनन्यास चिंतयन्तो माम. जिंदगी के साथ भी और जिंदगी के बाद भी. LIC of India has this tagline, right? जिंदगी के साथ भी और जिंदगी के बाद भी. But this is the real life insurance. लाइफ इंश्योरेंस पॉलिसी में क्या मिलता है हमें? जिंदगी के साथ कुछ नहीं मिलता और जिंदगी के बाद हमारे रिलेटिव्स को मिलता है, हमें कुछ नहीं मिलता, right? But Krishna time and again in the Bhagavad Gita says, स्वल्पमपि अस्य धर्मस्य त्रायते महतो भयात्, मैं महान भय से तुम्हारी रक्षा करूंगा। क्षिप्रम भवति धर्मात्मा शाश्वत शांतिं निगच्छति, कौन्तेय प्रतिजानीहि न मे भक्ता प्रणश्यति। My devotee will never perish. अनन्यास चिन्तयन्तो मां ये जनाः पर्युपासते तेषां सततयुक्तानां, अनन्यास चिन्तयन्तो मां ये जनाः पर्युपासते तेषां नित्याभियुक्तानां योगक्षेमं वहाम्यहम्। I will preserve what you have, I will provide what you lack. जहाँ से हम भक्ति करना छोड़ेंगे उसी पॉइंट से हम भक्ति करना शुरू करेंगे अगले जीवन में। So this is the real life insurance policy. So thank you again for all your support. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, श्रीमद् भगवद गीता की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय।
Thank you so much, Rohan. We're getting out of time, and so we'll maybe skip the questions. Again, it's personal speaker Rohan Prabhu. So, loud Hari Prabhu.